Hi guys, welcome to the Small But Mighty Dragon Crochet Along. In this video we're working on the belly patch. This video is geared towards the beginners. I'm going to show you how to work across the chain and also how to crochet 2 stitches together. I'll go over a few of the rows with you, but I'll let you refer to the written pattern for most of it, and I'm going to show you how to read the rows. To make the belly patch you're going to choose the alternate color that you're using for your dragon, so the lighter color, and the crochet hook that you've chosen. I'm using a 4mm hook for this one and a worsted weight yarn. It's also helpful to keep a notepad with a pen beside you so you can keep track of those rows. Alright guys, grab your crochet hooks and let's get started. The belly patch actually starts at the bottom down here and we're going to end up here. So when you begin the slip knot, make sure that you have a starting yarn tail that's long enough to sew into the body. I also make it a little bit longer just in case my finishing yarn tail isn't enough to sew the patch in, because when we finish the belly patch we're going to finish off with a long sewing yarn tail. But sometimes, they still come up a little bit too short, so when I begin mine I'll just have a starting yarn tail that's long enough to sew into the body and also long enough to sew if I need it to. I'll go ahead and make my slip knot and then chain 13. There's my chain of 13, and starting in the second chain from the hook. So there's the first chain. Starting in the second one, we're going to put a single crochet in each one of those chains across. So when I go through a chain, I always make sure that I have 2 loops of that chain on top of my hook and 1 loop of that chain on the bottom. It just makes a stronger chain. And when you hang on to this little bit, it's going to be awkward when you first start, just because there's nothing really to hang on to. So I use my finger and my thumb and just hang on to that little bit of yarn underneath the hook. Now I can pull the yarn through and through. And there's a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. And you can see that bigger loop, that's the one we just worked. You just want to make sure you're getting into the next chain over. And now into the next chain over. It gets easier the further you get down the chain. You can pause the video and hit play again when you get to your last chain, and I'll just show you what it looks like when you work into that last chain. Alright, just about to work my last chain. And that's the end of row 2, and now we have 12 stitches across. We started with 13 in our chain, but because we began in the second chain from the hook, we now have 12 stitches across. And you can easily see those V's. You just count those. You pull at your last stitch so you don't lose it, and the first stitch to count is underneath this big loop. And you can count those V's all the way down. And you should have 12 of them. So because I'm going to let you refer to the written pattern for most of this, you can see here where I say to save repeating the same instruction over and over, chain 1 and turn at the end of each row, skip chain at the start of each row. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Chain 1 and turn. So now we're at the beginning of row 3. We're going to skip that chain we just made. So that first V after the hook, skip that one and work in this first stitch of the row. So you should always be starting in the second V from the hook. Okay, and 1 single crochet in each one of those stitches across. When you go through, make sure you have 2 loops on your hook every time you go through. I'm going to speed it up and show you what it looks like when you get to the end of this row. Just came to the end of row 3, and you can see my last stitch is right here. It also dips down a little bit, so you got to make sure that you're getting through both loops. It's very easy just to pick up one. So just make sure you have 2 loops of that stitch on your hook. And that's the end of row 3, so I will chain 1 and turn. And now we're at the beginning of row 4. We're going to skip that chain and start in the second stitch from the hook. A single crochet across. I'll let you refer to the written pattern. And if you're worried about counting the rows or losing track, every time you finish a row, put a little notch on your pattern, and when you have 4 notches, then you'll know that you're moving on to row 7. You can refer to the written pattern, and I'll meet you back here at the end of row 6. There we go, I've made it to the end of row 6. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Row 7 is where we start decreasing the number of stitches we have in the row. So we have 12 stitches now. By the time we get down here, we're going to have 10 stitches across. So starting in the second stitch from the hook, 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches, and now we're going to crochet 2 stitches together 2 times. 1, 2, go through the next stitch like you normally would and grab your yarn, pull it through. Leave that loop on your hook and go into the next stitch, grab your yarn and pull it through. Now you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And there we go, we just turned 2 stitches into 1, we crocheted 2 stitches together. Now we're going to repeat that one more time. 1, 2, pull your yarn through, leave that loop on your hook and go into the next stitch. You have 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3. And there we go, now we're going to put 1 single crochet in the remaining 4 stitches. Now there's the end of row 7, and now we have 10 stitches across. Chain 1 and turn. Now again, rows 8 through 11 is 1 single crochet in each one of those 10 stitches for 4 rows. And remember, when you get to the end of the row, chain 1 and turn, and then skip that chain at the start of every row. So you can pause the video now and we'll meet back here for row 12. There we go, I'm at the end of row 11. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Starting row 12, we're going to reduce this row by 2 more stitches. 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And just like the last time, we're going to crochet 2 together 2 times. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and we just turned 2 stitches into 1. Now we're going to repeat that. There we go, and now we're going to put 1 single crochet in the remaining 3 stitches. There we go, at the end of row 12, and now we have 8 stitches across. Chain 1 and turn. Rows 13 to 14 is 1 single crochet in each one of those 8 stitches for 2 rows. And remember to skip that chain that we just made. And I'll show you the written pattern again. So you can do rows 13 to 14, 1 single crochet in each one of those stitches for 2 rows. And there's rows 15, 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then crochet 2 stitches together twice. And it's the exact same thing we've just done the last 2 times. The exact same. And then 1 single crochet in the remaining 2 stitches of that row. So I'll let you refer to the written pattern, and we'll meet back here at the end of row 19, and we'll finish off the belly patch together. There we go, at the end of row 19. Now we're going to finish off. We're just going to pull out our last stitch so we don't lose it, and we're going to cut free. And we're going to cut free with a long finishing yarn tail, because we're going to use this yarn tail to sew the patch to the body. So pull the yarn tail through that loop, bring it down to about there, and then pull tight. Alright my friends, that brings us to the end of this video. In the next video we'll be making the body, and that one should be popping up on your screen. Just click that little box and I'll meet you over there.